I saw a senior woman leader go from power meeting to power meeting, and she had brought her a 2-year-old son to work. She kept her phone in his pocket. He had six pockets, and she had none. And I was wondering what would be done to deserve this level of inequality, and that's when I decided to do something about it. And yeah, the idea for POV was born then. Pockets, of course, is a really big thing and a game changer for women in general. We shared our story on television, and then we pulled elements of our TV appearance and our coverage and really drilled down into it via other channels as well, especially on social. Our best customers have come from real life events. We've done a bunch of events. We've done pop ups and conferences and met our customers out in the wild. Positions of power can be attained in so many different ways, and we are unlocking some of those ways.
Welcome to the Afluencer podcast. We're talking women's fashion here today with Aditi Sinha. She's the founder of POV Label, an innovative brand for high-powered women and with an emphasis on more than one pocket on the garments. Aditi, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining us. And let's get into it. Where did the inspiration for POV Label come from originally?
During my tenure at Amazon, one of these days during your bring your kid to work day, I saw a senior woman leader go from power meeting to power meeting, and she had brought her a 2-year-old son to work. And as she went from these, one meeting to another, she kept her phone in his pocket. He was 2, he had 6 pockets, and she had none. And I was wondering what would be done to deserve this level of inequality, and that's when I decided to do something about it. And yeah, the idea was for POV was born then.
Yeah, that's great. So also an intriguing name. Can you share the story behind that?
Yeah, we wanted it to be something for the thinking woman, because we wanted it to sort of, spark a conversation and, think about equity, equality in those terms. And we were riffing with a few ideas, things like the corner office and tomorrow and all of that. But it wasn't really sticking to be like a fashion brand. And then while watching Making the Cut, the designers kept referring to their collection as their point of view. And, it just hit home. The ringer fit, the meaning, how it sort of aligned with us having a perspective on pockets inequality, and yet point of view being such an integral term in fashion that it just came together and, tied into this whole for us.
Yeah, very cool. So I see you've been picked up. You've got a lot of great traditional media references already. NBC, Fox has covered POV. You've also been covered on social platforms. So how do you balance to integrate the different channels? How do you get more play out of, especially the legacy media, which is, just very cool, right? When your brand is on TV, I mean, that's the ultimate in legitimacy. But I know as a startup, then the key is how do we get that message out and kind of broadcast it onto social? So what have been your approaches there?
Yeah, you know what? Every media has its role to play. And we are privileged and lucky that we got some of the early breaks in television. But both the good thing and the bad thing about television is that it's a one and done. So you have your big moment on TV and you have this big splash, but I think the meat of the matter is what do you do with your moment in the sun, right? How do you take it and how do you elongate it to really sort of reach a wider audience and still build on the credibility that TV did give us. So, we shared our story on television, and then we made sure that we pulled elements of our TV appearance and our coverage and really drill down into it via other channels as well, especially on social. You blew it up, and then using all of that equity that we garnered from traditional media helped us a lot in getting in front of, let's say, influencers or other partners or B2B or even our end consumer. So I think it's a really nice way to, thread the needle across all channels so that, different parts of our personality come out in, as a whole.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that's always the trick is that, like you said, you get that initial splash,
Right.
but you want it to keep going. And people who go to your site for the first time, they should be able to see the news clips, right, or see the references. So it's about keeping it alive for the new customers. Speaking of
Right.
which, as people do come across POV, what has been your best customer acquisition strategy there? What method has been the best for kind of getting that new customer in the door?
Yeah, Brett, as a startup, I think the best salesman of a startup is the founder. And so, with that in mind, our best customers have come from real life events. We've done a bunch of events. We've done pop ups and conferences and met our customers out in the wild in their natural habitat in many, many different ways. And it's taken a lot from us to, to show up in so many different situations with our baggage and samples. But the good thing is that it's also given us the opportunity to tell our story firsthand. So without being leaning too much into it, because real life events are not as scalable as a lot of digital social platforms. But in our early days, in our first few months, I think those have been instrumental in us getting our first few customers who have then turned into ambassadors and advocates, and then taken their word of mouth and media presence to sort of get the story far and wide.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Everyone wants to talk to the founder, right? So it's great that you can leverage yourself as and your co-founder as the chief kind of salespeople. I
Yeah,
found in person is always good because then you learn how to talk to somebody, and then when you go online, you can kind of pretend like you're having the same conversation. So in
yeah.
person maybe doesn't scale, but it helps you kind of refine that talk because there's nothing like having that person-to-person interaction, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I would have never said a few things in the words that our customers said back to us. As a
Yep.
as the founder, you have a mental model in your mind, and you start to talk business in a lingo that you understand. But through these events, we actually start to get a lot of nuggets from customers on how they would put it, and that is so much more relatable, honest, raw, that it resonates far better.
Right. Yeah, that's a great
Exactly right.
point. Great point also. Yeah, sometimes I find like I'll skip over things because you're in it day to day and you just kind of
Yeah.
gloss over something that
Mhm.
is actually important to state in common words. So you're probably hearing
Exactly.
that from your customers. So you mentioned on the influencer side, you've had some influencers have seen your TV appearances. What have you done so far with influencers? And is there any preference that you've developed in terms of the type of influencer that you're working with, whether it's nano or micro or macro influencer, or whether they're fashion influencers or female business influencers? Tell us more about your journey there.
Yeah, we've dabbled a little bit in influencers, and frankly, I think our best experience with influencers have been where there has been a resonance of, philosophy and vision. They've been pretty much in the nano and micro kind of range. I feel like the connections that a nano and micro influencers have with their following is far deeper, far more authentic to be able to tell a long form story. And that's what we need with point of view. So we've sort of worked with them a little bit, and they've been helpful and instrumental in many different ways, not only from like a fashion styling perspective, but also from how they've navigated their careers or their pivots, or how how POV or their wardrobe makes a difference in their lives. I think it's a very wholesome experience that they've shared, with POV and with their audiences. We do want to lean a little more into that to work with diverse influencers so that we can establish the versatility of use cases and kinds of people and kinds of bodies that have the same need of both comfort, pocket, and convenience. And that's where I think it's a strategy that is going to be very dominant for us going forward. Like I said, we can't scale real life events, or we can't scale both me and my co-founders' presence, but having influencers that have a relationship with their audience, I think, is the next best thing to tell our story. So that's where
Yeah,
we're planning to
yeah,
go.
that's great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Have you found any techniques along those lines that have worked in terms of them demonstrating the product? You've got something really with a nice functional benefit. So have you found certain types of posts or certain types of videos that work for you from a end sales standpoint? Well,
Yeah, yeah. I think two things. One, just we like to give a lot of creative liberty to our influencers. What is the point of hiring an expert if you can't let them do what they're so good at? Right. So we try not to be very prescriptive, but a couple of things that we make sure that any creative format is getting for us is an outline or their experience of a POV garment, and highlighting all kinds of functionality that we've packed into it. Pockets, of course, is a really big thing and a game changer for women in general. But along with pockets, we also have things like wrinkle resistibility and, elastic waist in pants, and so many other nuances that are worth talking about because they really elevate, the wearer's experience. So just authentic testimonial type videos that talk about the influencers journey with POV is really good for us. The other thing that we make sure we collaborate with influencers on is a what's in your pocket format. Vogue and so many others have looked into women's bags for so long. And everyone, I don't know, for some reason is very curious as to what's in a woman's bag. But, we do our own take on it with what's in your pocket. And, just learning what people or what women keep in their pockets. And it's ranged from regular things like phone to mints to wild things like pepper spray. And that whole gamut of things is very zeitgeist, very powerful. So we like that storytelling.
yeah, that's great. Do you have an average number of pockets on your garments?
At a minimum, we have two, but in our jackets and in our
Yeah.
pants, we have four.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, 2 or 4 is a lot better than the zero. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
oh yeah, the zero or the sewn shut or the fake pockets. I mean, we have a lot of choices.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very good. Do you have a marketing experiment or campaign that you liked that didn't work? Anything that you want to share in terms of surprises? And again, it could be something that worked or something that didn't. I know early on you're always trying to throw stuff against the wall, right? And see what works well or what doesn't, and then you go in a different direction.
Yeah, something that didn't work was, or didn't work as well, was pretty ads.
Oh, funny.
Um, yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise, we had a pretty photo shoot and it
Hmm.
looked really nice and all of
Yeah.
that. But I realized that, it is, for better or for worse, Photoshop has made amazing leaps, and it is very difficult to tell from a pretty ad whether the quality of the garment, the reviews, the fit, etc., is truly as good as in the photograph, or it's just some kind of magic. And so we experimented with that, in the traditional marketing, traditional advertising sense, and quickly pivoted to real world scenarios, which is where our advocates, our ambassadors, and our influencers come in. Really, we didn't want to be another fashion brand on the block that has unattainable standards of beauty and fit, and not talk about functionality or real experiences. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Well, that dovetails well with the influencers. It was refreshing for you to hear that you like to let the creators create. It sounds, you put it, so casual. It sounds like common sense, but a lot of the larger brands, especially, they have a hard time letting go of the creative control and almost not letting the creator or the influencer create. And I'm like you, I'd rather just you do your thing and you show me the best. We can brainstorm if you'd like, but I really want
Yeah.
you to run with it. So that's great to hear. Let you go with this one, Aditi. What upcoming innovations, collabs are coming out for POV Label that we should keep an eye on?
Wow, so many. We just collaborated with Mrs. Universe America, and I think in the future we are going to obviously have our set of women leaders and state reps and others that have been wearing POV. But in the future, we're going to do a lot more creative collabs with movie directors. And like I said, right before I jumped onto this call, I was talking to a director and an actress who is coming up with a movie, and I don't want to reveal the plot of her movie, but something that talks about women power. And so interestingly, we're going to work with a lot of more creative fields because power clothing doesn't only have to be in like a corner office, right? Positions of power can be attained in so many different ways, and we are unlocking some of those ways. Like I said, for the Mrs. Universe America, it was supremely refreshing to see that she ditched a ball gown for her interview, which is the expected thing with the crown, and wore a power suit
Oh, very
because
cool.
the message she wanted to give that was that she's a different beauty kind of beauty queen. So we're working on creative collabs, and a lot of innovation from a functionality perspective is in the works. I have a press release coming, so I don't want to delve into the detail, but I will say this: we are going beyond, let's say, the existence of functionality or the existence of pockets, and making sure that those pockets are smarter, more purposeful, in the sense that it does a lot more, right? And I'll give you an example. Pockets usually gape and things fall out of them. How about having like a magnetic pocket that keeps it shut, but not like with a zipper that adds hardware to the garment. So you take care of security, but you also get that fitted silhouette, and it makes it so much more purposeful. So a lot of innovation on pockets, a lot of innovation on functionality coming up this year.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Not that I'm a target customer, but I think of times when I'm out, I go for a run or something, I got the car keys in my pocket, and you're
Yeah.
always checking to make sure the car key didn't fall out, which is kind of stupid that you have to worry about that. But if you don't have security on top of that via zipper or magnet, is really a great idea. So I love that one. How can people find and follow POV Label on social media?
We are at Point of View Label on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn, if that's your jam. And you can find all of our styles on our website, which is www.povlabel.com.
Very cool. Appreciate it. Aditi Sinha with pointofviewlabel.com. And we will get the link to your collab here on Afluencer. We'll get that below the show notes here so people can apply. And if you would like to, like an intro to Aditi, please do apply so she can kind of review your info, and we'll get you chatting and hopefully collabing together. Aditi, thanks so much. It's been a great conversation. Appreciate it.
Likewise.